All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So I was only going to cover four on this one, but I want to cover five stocks. So we'll look at two quantum tickers, maybe a couple others while I'm looking at it just to see what the sector is. But I'll focus on Rigotti, RGTI, and then QBTS. We'll look at D-Wave as well. From there, I want to look at the nuclear stocks. I'll look at two again. I'll look at OKLO and NNE. There was another one that was in the comments. I might end up pausing it midway and go get a couple more. But again, those will at least be the four that we'll talk about. And then I really want to talk about Alibaba. I don't normally cover that one, but there were some real interesting things that happened on Friday, and I think it's well worth our attention, all right? Really quickly, this is not a paid endorsement. I've never listened to Fleetwood Mac before, and I just heard The Chain for the first time. And oh my God, that is a song. If you're gonna just stop listening to this and go listen to that song, I'm not gonna get offended. Someone made a really cool 10-minute extended version of the original 4-minute song. I probably listened to that 10-minute song like 6 times yesterday, and like in an hour, it was just Fleetwood Mac at my house. So yeah, silly little tangent right there. All right, so back to the stocks. That's what we're here for. Look, I've been watching Rigotti actually the last couple, and you hear me say it all the time. The 50 is a hard line to break up. It should be a very hard line to lose down, and it should be a good support, and that's what's starting to happen. All right, the one thing, and that's really going to be echoed across every single one of these stocks, is NASDAQ, which is identical to QQQ, which is what I'm looking at, right? It started well, and then now we're a little uncertain, all right? And that's all we are. We're just a little uncertain. Trust me, we're over the 8 and the 20, right? So it's not like we're under, and it's not like there's other things to get loud about, but there are two things that you have to pay attention to. Number one is the lower indicators, all right? We're not at zero, we're not at negative with the MACD, but red over green on both the MACD and the RSI, that's not really the unison we want to see, all right? The other thing is NVIDIA is first candle. It's not a big one, and hey, let's say we even lose it, the 50's right here, and I just talked about the 50 being a hard one to lose down, and it should be a strong support up, right? But we're looking at NVIDIA under the 8 and the 20 and coming to the 50. And trust me, I know we're not even talking about this stock, right? But where NVIDIA goes, where the NASDAQ goes, so will tech stocks, right? And right now, what looked like that same nice NASDAQ up, I don't know if this is an NVIDIA slowdown, and that's something that I'm going to be talking about across all of these, right? Because you look at QBTS, this thing was trying, still had some work to do with the moving averages, don't get me wrong, right? I did like Rigotti more, and I'll talk about that, but same little Friday drop down, coming into NNE, basically the exact same story. The 200 moving average, even stronger than the 50, even harder to break up and lose down, right? Beautiful support, even combined with the golden line resistance we had. Lo and behold, that's scary Friday right there. OKLO, lo and behold, that's scary Friday right there, right? The one outlier, what's Bob? Sometimes typos do good things, not on this one. So, Baba, look at this, all right? It was an earnings reaction with crazy volume, and it was crazy volume going into a long weekend, all right? And I'm telling you, Baba is actually the kind of stock that people hold, and it is actually scary to hold going into a long weekend. Most people will dump before the long weekend and buy right back on the Tuesday that we open after the dump, right? That's just general things, right? Baba takes off. Not only does it take off, it takes off after, and let me just go to this real quick just so that you see it. This was Friday morning. Friday morning, Baba's earnings dropped, and it was bad, bad, bad. But the candle was good. After hours actually holds. And really, it is all about this headline that we were talking about on the Discord. And honestly, I didn't see it. If this wasn't here, I wouldn't have known. And we're going to talk about the rumor that Baba is going to make chips to fill the NVIDIA void. All right. And a lot of that is an interesting thing. And I will be honest with you, I said the exact same Fleetwood Mac thing here because Oh man, the song that changed just blew me away yesterday. All right, so that's I think everything here for the opening thoughts. RGTI. Again, we're not going to talk about NVIDIA too much again, but even if you're not holding it, even if you only care about one of the five that I've tagged on this video, right? You got to look at NVIDIA, you got to look at NASDAQ on Tuesday because these are all tech heavy and they very much will follow the tech ocean, right? We want it to be calm and good, not crazy and choppy, right? Okay. So with all that, before we do go any further and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term, excuse me. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it, all right? So let's get into this. And really, a common theme, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, is AI across all of these, right? We are living in this, some people are calling it an AI bubble, some people are calling it just the beginning of the AI revolution. Honestly, I'm just here to trade, right? I am not smart enough to know which of those two extremes we're living in, right? But right now, AI is the hottest thing, and AI auxiliaries are really good things to look at. You know, there's a saying, I'm not making this up and I'm probably butchering it, right? But a lot of people back in the day went broke mining for gold, right? And I'm talking like, I don't know if it was the 1900s, 1800s, right? Like I'm talking about coming to the West Coast and mining for gold, right? And I know we've all seen that one meme where the dude leaves when he's just in front of the wall, but like, that's not what I'm talking about, right? Like, most people lost their money looking for gold, looking for oil, looking for whatever, right? The people that actually kind of did well were the ones that sold the auxiliary things, right? The ones that sold the pitchforks and the helmets and the gears and the safety things and this and that, right? So, hey, I don't know what's going to be the best AI chip and the best AI brain, but what's going to happen is quantum computing is going to keep getting better and better, right? And that's why we're looking at the auxiliary, right? Even on the next one, right? You need power to power the AI, right? I don't know who's going to win. I don't know this or that, but even if it's a bubble that pops, right? They're still going to keep going and they're still going to need some power, right? So nuclear makes a lot of sense, right? And then again, we showed the headline in the opening thoughts about Baba trying to make chips. So all of this is very AI connected, and really, as we're here for the technicals, man, I thought this was ready to reattempt. I did, because just looking at the lines, right? We are at a golden line. I very much know that the all-time high is actually all the way up here at 21 something. I know that there's actually a close of a candle right there at 20. If this 18 line, this 1794, right? I'm just a human, it's not a perfect click, but this 18 breaks, we're going for all-time highs. And we kind of tried, we better tried. I thought we were ready to go. And I talked about it in the opening thoughts. Look at this 50 moving average. We actually only use it once the entire time through. And this is a pretty long climb, actually. Let me zoom back a little bit. So over here, we since the takeoff in October, let's talk about it from October 2024 all the way through today. We only use the 50 moving average once, twice, and that's it. To me, that does mean this is a strong, fresh, good line. And it totally makes sense to me that this third one was a very clean support. Look, there's no like set number to it, but in my head, I always kind of use the number 5. You can hit a support about 5 times before it's probably going to lose. You can test a resistance about 5 times before it's probably going to lose its strength and you can break, right? So I think this is a very clean third bounce. I loved it, and I really thought we were going to start going up, all right? All of a sudden, the MACD went from it might go into the negative to, hey, maybe it's going to go back on up. RSI has stayed a very, very healthy number. I mean, the one thing we talked about really the last kind of few Rigotti videos was all of a sudden our white 50-day line went crazy because of all this volume that we never, ever, ever, ever saw anything like it, right? So, you know, it takes time for the white line to stabilize and come down, and actually it went even a little bit more down, and right where we're at right now is a pretty healthy sustainable volume spot, right? So the volume was ready, these were setting up, and like I said, right now all I'm wondering is Nvidia gonna drop and the market's gonna get scared and it's gonna really mess up this Rigotti thing? Ah, that would suck, you know? And look, QBTS really is the same thought. It's just different lines, right? You know, we definitely lose the 50, right? But more than anything, there was a cluster of 3. So we just kind of lost the cluster is what it was. And from there, we never even got to the 100. I'm not a Star Wars guy, but I kind of joke, the line used the Force to like stay away from me. You're not even going to come touch me, you know? And yeah, like a perfect line right there, right? It never comes to this thing, starts to make it. You know, I was going to talk about this being difficult and all that, but again, the volume thing isn't as good as Rigotti, right? Rigotti's line is already down here. This still is a little bit too high volume. We still actually need the line to come down a little bit, right? So I did like Rigotti more because, yeah, it was over all, it still is, I shouldn't say was, it is over all 5 moving averages. It is a lot closer to the 50-day line because this crazy volume has now stabilized to reality, right? Maybe there's still a little bits of gap, maybe it could still come down a little bit, right? But when I look at QBTS, still under some lines with a cluster right there, not a single day in the last 2 weeks over the volume line. You know, either way, I thought a good NASDAQ would have done it. Right now, I would just look at this one right here. What do the other ones look like real quick? QUBT. Yeah, look, I mean, this should be kind of hard to lose. Maybe there's a path to 17. I'd still take a look at Rigotti before this one. Where's IONQ at? IONQ might be worth eyes. I would say take a look at IONQ. If it gets over 43.40, that would be really nice. That's actually almost a perfect 50% candle right there, too. What's this? Yeah, let's do 43.50. Get over 43.50 on IONQ, and I'll like it, actually. Not as great volume as Rigotti, but I'm cool with the thing. I would also say Rigotti did, oh no, same thing with the lines. Yeah, look at those two is what I would say. I didn't look at the weekly. I don't need to look at the weekly. Cool, I like this. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Let's come take a look at the nuclear sector. So I'm gonna look at NNE and OKLO. All right. I'm gonna pause this video. There was another 2 tickers I think in the comment. Give me 1 second. Sorry. Okay, I'm back. So I know these 2 very well. Honestly, this third one I'm gonna be kind of looking at for the first time. SMR. Cool. I don't know this one personally. So I'm going to take a quick second to look at this. Nice. I like that. What does that look like against NNE? Okay, it's actually a better climb than that. Oh, it copies OKLO. I like that. SMR copies OKLO hard. One more time just to make sure. Copies OKLO hard. This actually recovered a little better. I like that ticker. That's cool to know. Okay, so let's talk about these 3 real quick. So again, just in case you fast forwarded, I'm not going to say it as long as I did on the quantum side, but look, right now, there's a lot of people that talk about, hey, are we living in an AI bubble? Are we living at the moment of the AI revolution and it hasn't even started yet, right? Like, look, I'm not here to say I have a clue about which side of the coin that answer is, right? What I do like is looking at auxiliaries of the hot thing. All right. And my analogy was back in the day, like 1800s, 1900s, right? People went broke, lost everything looking for gold, looking for oil, looking for whatever, right? The main ones that actually were successful were the ones that sold auxiliary things. They sold the hats and the safety equipment, the mining equipment, right, etc. The tents to sleep overnight, right, etc., etc. So This is the power that's going to be needed for AI. And look, remember this, the dot-com bubble for sure popped and tanked, but yo, we're still living in the dot-com world, right? AI ain't going away. The stocks may one day, I have no idea, I'm not saying they are, and honestly, I'm not betting that they are, but they will one day. Everything goes up, everything goes down, right? They will go down one day, but just because they're going down doesn't mean AI is going to die, you know. And to me, you're gonna need to power it, and that's what this sector's about. It's a strong auxiliary, and it's power. And my favorite thing to say about this thing is what used to be Chernobyl fears, what used to be what 3 Mile Island fears and horror stories, are now what is probably gonna be the future of power, right? We have smarter ways of controlling it, blah, blah, blah. That's too sciencey for me, right? But this actually had a near mimic to Regatti. Look at that, right? Bounces on the 50, gets over it all, right? OKLO bounces on the 50, gets over it all. It was that Friday hiccup. It was realizing that Nvidia, and let's just zoom back real quick, right? Because I don't think I've done this on any of them. This is the ugly, and it's just one candle, right? We're not here to freak out about one candle, but this is the ugliest candle under this under this orange line since basically the beginning of the year, right? And then let's this thing has seen it before. That's not even that ugly. Interesting. That's kind of an ugly one. That's a good example. That's an ugly one under the line. The first one in a good while after months, and it definitely held. You see what happens after, right? But yeah, just be careful. Let's see what happens, and that's really what messed up a really good setup to escape all the moving averages, right? SMR actually had no, it didn't. I thought it did. Never mind. This one looks like NNE, right? Right now, immediately, yeah. So yeah, right now I like OKLO of these three. Right now, it is all about getting over 76.20. What's that? That's too high. Yeah, 76.20. Get me over 76.20, and I will really like OKLO. Again, I like this one over the other two, mainly because of the moving average situation, right? Like, this is a little bit of a cluster right here. There are just too many lines too close to each other. And we actually, like I said, we just came off losing 3 lines right there, right? So NNE has been in a whirlwind of moving averages, and the spacing to escape just isn't there, right? It could happen, and trust me, I'm going to talk about it shortly. Right now, I'm kind of starting to see a little bit of the same thing with SMR. All right. Again, I really like the fact that this thing climbed with OKLO. I do. I think OKLO is the best of these three. It has Sam Altman connected to it. I think he left the board, but again, they have his cell phone number. I don't. Right. So it's one of those things where this dude's been at all these Trump meetings, meeting all these world leaders, et cetera, et cetera. That's why I really like OKLO. I like the fact that this thing mimics that run almost to the candle, right? Same kind of NNE comments. If we can get, okay, that's actually almost 50% candle, right? That's just too close. Where are you? Yeah, I think I need you to get over 4150. SMR over 4150 should green, 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 red, 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 green, green, green us all the way up to like 46 if it happens. Otherwise, yeah, I think we might be coming down to 32. And then, yeah, hopefully we don't lose 32, right? With OKLO, like I said, we really want to get over that right there. The 76, I think, is going to be the bare minimum. Get over that 777. That's a cool Vegas number. Get over 777, and yeah, this thing should continue on up to all-time highs. For now, I'm going to use this as the low end. I'm going to use 66.80. I think if we don't make this escape, we're probably going to come down to the 50. And really, if Nvidia can't hold the 50, OKLO won't hold the 50. That's a simple thing to say right there. And then NNE, the pros and cons of being in too many moving averages, there's not a lot of risk to the reward, right? This thing, if it's going to fall, will probably come to like 31, let's call it. If it loses 31, it'll probably come to 30. It is all about breaking 35, right? That's basically where the red line is. Maybe you can say 36 is a decent confirmation. I even have a line at 37. It might even be worth waiting for 37, and then hopefully you can go from there because there's nothing there, right? The theme across all three of these is they're actually really close to all-time highs. They really, really are, you know, and it's just watch what NASDAQ and NVIDIA do. Even if you don't have a dollar in NVIDIA and you're 100% in these, you got to know what the ocean looks like before you go sailing, right? Like that's what it is, right? So let me know your thoughts, let me know your opinions. Even if you disagree, I want to end it with BABA, okay? I don't normally cover BABA. Hey, really quickly, please, if you can subscribe, if you can share, it does wonders with the algorithms. So I normally don't cover BABA because if you look at the normal pattern, it's too much gap up and gap down. And it's a little contradictory to the way my trading style is. Now look, it holds the 8, it loses the 8 and the 20, right? Like the 8 and the 20 are your worst enemy, they're your best friends. The words I still say for sure still work, but I've never really been a fan of the gaps because it's incorrect. I thought it did back in the day. Never mind. I was going to say the 1 minute chart gets funky, but yeah, it actually doesn't. Either way, that's a simple reason why I normally don't cover this. So the actual reason why I'm covering this came from the Discord. We're going to not talk about this. So let's come here. No, sorry. Let's first come here. So the last, and it was the only one that mattered in a lot of ways. It come Friday, right? Friday morning, Alibaba drops their earnings, and I mean horrible is easy to say, right? You hear me say all the time, if you miss your earnings per share, it's generally game over. Sometimes if your revenue is good enough, maybe you can erase it. That wasn't even good enough. Then it just another red right there. Net income is up, and either way though, right? We're looking for green, not red everywhere on the charts and in the earnings, right? What made things different is this headline, all right? And again, before I read this, and you're probably faster at reading than I am, I'm a numbers guy, but the stock market is about tomorrow. It's not about today. And today it was a bad earnings. And obviously I'm talking about Friday, right? You get what I'm saying? Tomorrow, there's a decent rumor and chance that Alibaba develops new AI chips to help fill the NVIDIA void. NVIDIA lost, if I'm not mistaken, $5 billion was the number. I might be wrong. I'm not saying I know 100%, but they lost a lot not selling to China. Now, just an opinion, but I sincerely believe there's going to be a tariff deal between the US and China, and NVIDIA is going to win. I do believe that, all right? I don't know when, this and that. What I do know is this is a nice rumor, and I think this candle pretty much says, I don't care about today's EPS miss, earnings per share miss. I don't care about today's revenues miss. I don't care about this or that. The volume rushed. The biggest, let's put a line and let's answer this kind of well. Since 2002, right? Since 2002, I'm just going to kind of count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Maybe there's another 9, 10 in there. Arguably speaking, today or Friday was the 10th biggest single volume day since 2022. That's huge. And I mean, look at this thing. Red, like, right? There's one line to be drawn. I'll probably make a nicer line, right? But if we can get to that, I might even lower it. We'll see where it is, because I can already see something like this being actually the line, maybe even that, give or take. Again, we'll correct that, but all I see is IPO line right there. Let's put it right there. That's fine. You break 140, you're going to run to 160. You break 160, Baba might go. And I think there's enough time between here and do they actually make the chips and fill the NVIDIA void to kind of answer that. And hey, let's be honest. Let's say they don't fill the entire void, right? all of a sudden they're now a new competitor in the space, and I have no idea if they're going to be good, bad, or whatever, but all of a sudden more competition makes pricing a concern, and this and that and those, right? So you know, this is what stock market, and you know, I think the other thing that's important is I always say bad earnings brings you down. Yo, things I say are not set in stone, right? There are always outliers to everything, and we're here to set an expectation and react accordingly, right? So what am I looking for now? Honestly, oh yeah, that was the line. It's basically the bottom of that and the top of that. Those are the realest candles, right? We're looking for 140. If this thing can come to 140, oh man, we already talked about what's above it, right? And we're liking the fact that MACD and RSI both have a real nice green over red. They both started the divergence right away. Still a very, very healthy 68 on the RSI reading, right? The question is going to be, is the volume going to pump and dump, or is it going to sustain up here right now, right? I think what I'll be looking for is this line right here. That's our line. I'm kind of taking the average of this little chunk, knowing that there's a couple little below. That is definitely that's more than a 50% loss of volume, right? So in a lot of ways, I'd like to be maybe closer to 50 million than that line, I would say, but give me one of two things. Give me either, I guess, one of three things. Number one, give me more volume on Tuesday, right? That would be next level amazing. Give me close to around 70 million. That'd be really cool. Or give me the rest of the week around 40. I'm willing to take a 50% dump in volume if you'll sustain back to this. Because the easy thing to say is, hey, if we can sustain good volume, this thing knows how to ride the 8 moving averages, especially when it escapes the moving averages. This thing is now escaping the moving averages, and it looks like it's going to get ready to ride the 8 moving averages, right? So give me this much volume, give me this much volume, or give me more, and I think great things will happen, all right? Easy to say, it's very, very bullish over 130. It's 132, I guess. Yeah, because 130 is too low. 132 is the easy bullish. If I had to guess, 125. Man, that's low. Where are you? No, it's too high. Man, you see there's too many gaps and there's not enough strong candles for me to draw like educated lines that'll catch us somewhere, right? Let's go to the weekly. Let's see if the weekly will give us something a little stronger. Where are you? That's too low. Where are you? That's too low. Super 125. Okay, look, let's just do this. The real easy educated thing to say is 131, 132, wildly bullish. All right. From there, I'm guessing the slope, and it's gonna be around 125, and that seems to be a number that we've seen a couple other places. So let's just use 125 as the like. You know what? Honestly, let's do this. Let's do this. It's the same thing. It's 125. This thing can come as low as 125 and still be bullish. I didn't want to lose $10 because that's a lot closer to a 10% loss than I like to eat. But yeah, that is the number. This thing can lose. It can. It'll still be bullish. All right. Rumors are good. People want to know about tomorrow. Look at where we're at on the weekly. We're over all the moving averages with a real nice MACD curl that was red over green for months and months and months and months. This is the first one, right? RSI basically did the same thing, same really healthy number. There's a lot to like on this BABA chart right here. I'm going to zoom out one more. Yeah, and it makes sense that there was two lines that tight because this thing's saying basic, almost the middle of the two of them. I went at 140, one at 160. This thing's saying, hey, 150 might be an interesting line right there, right? But yeah, there's things to like on BABA. And again, it is in very much, and it's what I said after I talked about Fleetwood Mac again here. It's crazy to see this earnings recap, this AI chip headline, and that candle on Friday. The headline mattered more than the earnings. I think it did because they care about tomorrow more than today is my most educated way of saying why. All right. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions. Even if you disagree. Oh, I appreciate you so much.